Hi, Michelle. Yay, Jenny. Yep. I feel like all our regulars. Um, so, hi, Abby. A couple different things we're talking about to talk about today, and it can go wherever we want to go, but just something we were kind of thinking about is, um, we're starting to, hi, Michelle. Hi, Jill. We're starting to kind of really, so just a topic to think about before we kind of say, do we want to continue on with these calls or what would be meaningful? But kind of a topic for today to think about a little bit is as we're beginning to open up, I've had discussions with lots of different people about, we talk about this new next normal. So what is it that we want to make sure that, oh my gosh, we are carrying forward into this new next normal. We don't want to lose it. It was good. And when we talk about changing and things being different, what do we want to bring forward with us? And then again, on that flip side, what kind of have we learned during this time? And this can be personal, this could be in your business, but what have we really learned through this time that we need to throw out? We need to get rid of. I don't want to see it again. The people I work with don't want to see it again. In my personal life, I don't want to see this again in my next normal. So we thought that might be somewhere to go, kind of as a topic conversation today. And another thing Jackie was kind of bringing up before everybody else was on the call about the kind of anxiety factor about opening back up. And I think that touches us in many different ways, again, personally and both professionally. So those were some of the topics, but of course this can go any way we want it to go because it's our call on Friday. So we have quite a few. Let's see how many we got on here. We have about 13 people on the call right now. So let's just do this, and maybe we could do it again later, but I'm going to go ahead and launch a poll. So we're talking about these Friday gatherings, and we've been coming together now for a couple months. And our last one is scheduled for Friday, June 26th, I believe, which is next week. So the question kind of to the group is, do we want to continue on with these Friday calls, right? Are they working for you? Should we continue into July? All right, so I'm gonna, maybe this poll will work. Let's see if it works. I'm gonna launch it for you. Hopefully you're seeing it. And just get a little snapshot of what everybody kind of thinks here. Do we want to continue on? Yes, I'm loving it. All right. Okay. Everybody got it in there? I'm going to go ahead and end the poll. So it looks like the majority says, yes, I'm loving it, and we should continue on until July. That seems to be the consensus, yes? Okay. So we will go ahead and schedule some out, and if you're good, pop in and out when you want, or we'll be here through the rest of July, and you'll get that link anyway if you are on here today, and feel free to join us. So thanks everybody for being here. Evie says hello. All right, so let's go to Jill. Popped up the answer right away. Thank you, Jill. First in the chat box. So to get the conversation rolling, so the question we were really talking about is, what is something that you want to move forward with? It was great in the past. In the new next normal, which I think, Michelle, you talked about, didn't you? Somebody talked about the next normal. I've been using that. I hope that's okay. So in our new next normal, what do we want to make sure we carry forward? What wasn't broken? What do we want to make sure is in our kind of new next reality? And on that flip side, what do we really need to just throw out and get rid of? So that's how we're going to kind of open it up here. Jill started us off in the chat box. Hi, Kim. It says, get rid of management making the rules without discussion and involvement of residents. Hello. The pandemic is a community problem and requires community solutions. With a top-down approach in this crisis, the manager can become like a prison warden with rules that people don't understand and are angry to be told what they can and can't do. Jill, would you like to, what do they say, extrapolate on that?
Sure. So this is just something that I've been seeing and hearing from people, and as a family member with parents that live in a life plan community, and this organization where they live, they are now pausing and they are getting resident involvement in things. But what I'm seeing just too much is like these lists and rules that go out to residents. Here's what you are allowed to do and not allowed to do without discussion. And what I'm also hearing from some places is when residents are involved, so there, I know of one community where it's just independent living. They don't have a licensure, you know, they don't have anybody from the state telling them what they have to do. But when the leader, the former leader, talked with the residents and said, hey, are you ready to open things back up to visitors? The residents there said, no, we are not ready for that yet. And so they kept restrictions in place, but that is a much different feeling. If that leader had just said, I've made this decision, people would be angry. And I've heard a lot of people say, you know, get me out of this prison. And we're actually seeing some places where residents are moving out, at least temporarily, because they don't, it's not just not liking what's happening, it's not having a role to play and being part of coming up with what is the right answer here. And this is such a complex situation, and I am not judging these leaders. This is an incredibly difficult thing to figure out, is how much do we open up without putting people at risk? But you're missing things. We are missing things when we aren't involving more people in the conversation. So that's just something I hope we learn from and carry forward, is how important that is with everything. Because we've all seen places where, even in the best of times, residents will call themselves inmates. I don't know if you've all heard that happen, and that's because of that model. So that was just my thought on that. I hope we can learn more. And again, not blaming what communities are doing right now, but it's time to pause and rethink things.
Thank you, Jill. Anybody have any thoughts on that?
You could tell me I'm totally wrong. Like, I want to hear other thoughts. This is just my thoughts.
Jill, I agree with you. Oh, I'm sorry, this is Joan. I agree with you, and I'm coming from that family member perspective as well. My mother-in-law is in assisted living in a community in Illinois. During the course of all this, has been moved to palliative care, and now we understand now the latest is they're going to move her to hospice care. And communication has been you know, and I don't think family really hasn't been involved other than being told, and I think that's very challenging. And you can imagine that I have tried to interject a few things. I have been known over the course of the last couple of months to send them resource and send them ideas and do a few things. And my husband's comment last night is he's not sure they're even opening up my emails. But you know, so it's because they're just not. I think they're so inundated with the regulation and the piece of that they're a little afraid to push an envelope at all. And Illinois I recognize, is not an easy state. I wouldn't want to be an administrator in the state of Illinois personally. But you know, so it's hard just not getting that input for people, getting that is something as basic as the only platform they use for families to connect is Facebook. Well, that's fine, but if you don't own an Apple product, and so what's happening is there are 6 siblings in my husband's family, and we are the only ones that can communicate visually with his mom, because we're the only ones that have an Apple product. So just that, you know, that need to get out of the box and help people feel comfortable. And I'm not blaming the communities. I get that there's so many things coming at them, but how do you have better conversations so that you broaden the opportunities?
Yeah, Joan, thank you. And I just want to add, you know, I was talking with Penny Cook about some of this, and she was like, you know, in the beginning of the crisis, like, people had to move fast and things are changing every day. And of course you have to make quick decisions, and sometimes you're not so good at communication. And so it's not so much looking back and blaming, it's like, how do you take a pause right now? Yeah. And yes, there are all these rules and regulations, but sharing the reality of it and having discussions with people and calling upon the people that live in the community and family members to do the right thing and help come up with solutions, it just feels better. And I know I'm not working in a community right now. I know how hard it must be, but I think there are opportunities to take a breath and maybe think about, are there different ways? That's all.
Yeah, thank you, Jill. Kim, did you have something to add, please? Love to hear it.
Let's see. I
There
had
you
to
go.
find my button.
You're on.
Hey everybody, I just wanted to share. I listened in yesterday to a Consumer Voice. They had a webinar and it was about, this exact same thing, but it was talking to residents and families about what it's like and how a lot of families are having to learn to advocate to be able to do stuff. And they were telling them, what the laws were and what the rules were, and how to try and approach talking with the providers and trying to have good, open conversation. But then if they're being told, that the residents have to stay in their room with the door closed, and that's not in the law, and it's not what is, required by law, what can they do? So just know that that was out there and it's probably recorded. It was a good overview of what's the law and what's not the law, just to help think about the other side of this, from that perspective.
Thank you, Kim. Thank you. Anybody else have a comment? I know, Star, you kind of set up here, we're really between a rock and a hard place, right? Which kind of leads to what Jill was talking about, Joan was talking about, taking that pause, but still, do you want to say anything to your comments, Star?
Yeah, I think what I've learned during these past few months is that we've had a moving target. And it's been very frustrating for everyone. I know our director of nurses is inundated with reports that she has to put out for different agencies, and their reports are all different, and it consumes a huge amount of her time gathering this information. And so much of it is repetitive, and we haven't had any active COVID cases within Piners. We've had some employees who tested positive, but it didn't originate at Piners. So, that put us into a very serious lockdown with isolation and the whole thing, and nobody had a choice. It was like we were mandated, this is what you have to do and this is how you're going to do it. And it's a very difficult situation. Our next normal, I hope that we can find a way where we can still have some semblance of contact. I miss hugs. That drives me crazy that I go to someone and I can't console them. I can't give them a hug. And I'm going, this can't be our next normal. I can't go there. I'm sorry. We've got to figure that out. It's challenging times. And I agree with you, Jill. Pausing, looking at it is very, very important. I hope that we can all put our heads together and come up with some really creative ways that we can still connect with people, because I believe that's important. I think that that is the crux of loneliness when we don't have connection. The whole contact is so important. And so I want to make sure I do everything in my power to put the brain cells to work to figure out a way where we can still have that. I think it's so important.
Thank you. Thank you, Star. Go, Abby.
So, I think we also have to take into consideration that we are not going to be facing a new normal for any time in the near future because this thing is elevating again. And, this COVID is here for a long time with us. So we are stuck in this. And within the parameters of this spread, we're going to see a lot more heavy-handed tactics coming down on us. So again, it goes back to that discussion. This is what we're dealing with. What do we do creatively? But I also have to say that we have to really start emphasizing compassion in all of our staff and elders without judgment. Compassion means caring for someone else without judgment. And if we don't start implementing that genuine human caring, we're screwed as a society, period. So there's a couple of, we have to be strong-armed in insisting on genuine compassion for each other.
Thank you, Abby. Yeah, and you also talked about kind of sharing the county or state or federal rules with the elders, and of course having them evolved, and then creatively what you do forward. And I think it goes back to some of our previous conversations where we've talked about, information and information sharing, and what does that look like? And the more I know, at least, I may not agree with it or I may have differing thoughts, but I've been able to get them out. And I do have knowledge of what's going on instead of it just being put upon me. So thank you.
Well,
Go ahead. Yeah, Kim.
Something I forgot to say about the webinar yesterday with Consumer Voice is they were talking about compassion and how the word compassionate visit is used in some of the rules and laws, and everybody's just assuming that compassionate visit means end of life, and people are only allowed to see their loved ones at end of life. But you can debate, no, compassionate visit is not just right when someone is actively dying. And how to really look at that word and how we all need to use that word, study how that word is used and use that in how we're going about this. And also, how can we use, if it's in the nursing home setting only, but how can we use resident and family councils to have some of these conversations? So I just wanted to share that too.
Thank you, Kim.
It's hard. I love the word pause, Jill.
We'll have to remember that pause.
Yeah.
You can thank Penny Cook for that. She's the one who does that.
Thank you, Penny. Meredith, you seem to have a big reaction to the word compassion. I saw you down there, like your head was just going. Is there anything you want to comment on that?
We've been doing a lot of visits. We've done the courtyard visits, we do the window visits, we do the FaceTime visits, and we did open up to the compassionate visits, not just end of life, but for people that have had major change, recognizing that it can only be a short term. It may not be for the continuation. Our state has just allowed us today. We've gotten permission. We now can have visitors in the residence room anytime during the day that we can do. So we've done 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. because of the screen in and all of that. And we've had visitors here right away at 9 o'clock this morning. It was right away as soon as people heard. And it's wonderful. But it's also a little bit scary for those who are responsible for the infection prevention. And our COVID command team, if you will, for the medical process that's had to happen through all of this, is very well aware of the fact that we need visitors. And how can we do it and how can we do it safely? And it's happening and it's really exciting. So we were going to have more compassionate visits for people who are depressed with all of this, because it's happened. there's depression everywhere. And we don't need to now because we can have people that can come in. As long as we stay above that threshold for active infections, and we've done very well with no resident infections. And you know, it's just really a wonderful process. When you talk about keeping families informed, we are doing letters constantly. Once to 3 times a week, we have letters that go out to families. One maybe from our administrator giving the whole, everything that's happening. Maybe it's for those who have respiratory illness onset. Maybe it's just, here's how we're going to change dining. And we're doing all of that. We're doing another huge letter today. And then another phone call tree on Monday. So we're constantly informing families. So when you said the nursing home isn't opening your letters, I think on our mailing on Wednesday of this week, there were probably 40 of the 160 plus that did not open their emails. That's the frustration I have. And it's maybe because families are getting so many emails, they don't want to open anymore. And, you know, the texts and all of that stuff, but we're in communication overload.
Great, great. Any thoughts on that? Thank you, Meredith, so much for sharing. I know you got a couple just cheering you on, and if you didn't see in the chat box, Meredith's from North Dakota. So, and they're, talking about it. It's incredibly scary times. Wishing you well, Meredith. Just to catch up with the chat box a little bit, there was some things in here about the iPad and using Google Duo. I've never heard of Google Duo. I think Joan brought it up first. Carrie, you followed that up with that. Does anybody want to talk about that? Because I think that was new. Meredith, you said Google Duo too. So that was new for Joan. Does anybody want to kind of explain that, or?
I did my first Duo call with my daughters last night, and
Okay.
it's super easy to do on your phone. You can just connect it with any of your contacts through your Google. The video I thought was excellent. And I was able to do one that had both of my daughters. I mean, you can set up a group. I mean, I'm not tech savvy, and it was a piece of cake.
Is it an app, Joan? Is it an app?
It's through your Google. Yeah, I can. Let me see if I can find the. I'll see if I can find the thing that my daughter sent me to get on it.
Okay. Yeah, sharing any new technology we have. Huge, very important. And then just a couple of things. Jenny, thank you so much. You were talking about, when we were talking about what was really the topic, and hi, Angie. Hi, Jane, whoever I didn't say hi to yet. But we're talking about, during these times, what do we want to move forward with? What do we like that we had that we do not want to throw away? And what needs to be tossed in the trash for our next normal? So that was kind of what we've been discussing up to this point. So Jenny, thank you. You really spoke about keep innovating, pushing the limits of possibilities and creativity. Jack, if you wanted to speak, there's a moving reflection on the challenge that Jill voiced. Did you want to say anything about that? You gave us a link for Senior Living Pros.
Yes, well, I've listened to your discussions over these many weeks, and the one reflection that I have is it's something that's going on in our society at large at this time, and that is that we need to listen to each other, to hear each other. So I can say that as a resident, my voice is typically not heard in the senior living industry. It's, there are, the leading age, for example, has no residents in its policy determination. They do work with a few residents who support their programs, but the resident perspective per se is generally silenced, and that's a factor. But yesterday I listened to a panel presented by a panel of very accomplished professional Blacks talking about what it is to be Black in America and trying to do business. And one of the things that I took away from that is they said that if you're a Black wanting to have a successful life, you have to learn to be careful not to scare white people. And as residents, we find that we have to learn to be careful not to scare providers, because they're sensitive and they feel misunderstood. And I understand that they feel misunderstood. But many residents, not all residents, a lot of people come here because they want a life of just, having other people, being dependent on others. Some people choose a life of dependence, but, it goes both ways. So I think what's happening, we're seeing as a result of the Black Lives Matter movement, as a result of the disruption of the COVID, as a result of the women's movement, that we're beginning as a society to listen to each other, to listen to groups that have not been heard. And certainly the population who are confined to care facilities has been one of the populations, and this is central to the Eden alternative, I understand that, but that's a population that has largely not been heard. The result is we have all these rules and regulations. You were talking about the compliance burdens that burden all of you. Why do we tolerate that? Why are our trade associations not fixing that? Why are we not promoting proactive actions to make aging be what it ought to be?
Thank you, Jack. Very powerful words. Thank you. Just again, kind of checking up with the chat box here. We don't want to lose any thoughts. Jenny, again, thank you for saying keep smiling faces, or keep seeing families as essential care partners. Jenny, do you want to say anything to that? Might be putting you on the spot.
No, you're fine. I was just reflecting on, honestly, the first couple of weeks after we closed our doors to families. And not gonna lie, there was a sense of relief, right? We had, it was sort of this breath of fresh air. No one was breathing down our necks. All of a sudden we were getting our jobs done and all of this. And that lasted maybe a week or two. And now at 100 days in, oh my gosh, do we realize how much they mean, whether it's a piece of information about their loved one that we need to know, or whether it's assisting their loved one with a meal. That's one less that we're having to do. And then just as I think the big thing is just how much our families were supporting us as staff, whether it was a hug when they came in, or a thanks for making Dad's day, or something like that. And so while I feel like I get some of that as the person doing the Zoom calls and the window visits, the rest of the staff doesn't seem to be receiving that awesome feedback the way that they should from families. And so that's something that I definitely want to keep. And those times that I roll my eyes and say, oh, memory care is easy, but you should see family dynamics. That needs to be a shift in thinking. So.
Yeah. Oh, thank you, Jenny. Yeah, I know back when I was teaching too, I would say, like, let's stop running away from family members. Let's start at least walking towards them. Can we start there, please? So thank you. Yes, I love that. Thank you. We also had lots of talks about hugs and how hugs are important, and sending virtual hugs. Starry, you got some virtual hugs for sure. Joan said there's an article about safe hugs in the New York Times. So that's kind of exciting. If you want to look there, the link is in there. Denise missing her grandkids, wants to hug them up. Yeah, the hugs. And then what was Meredith, you said touch the middle of the back between the shoulder blades. It's a spot we can't touch on our own. Oh. So yeah, lots of stuff about hugs. And then Joan, you kind of said the other challenge is the media is saying that nursing homes are keeping families from visiting as if we don't want them to come in. They fail to mention how the rules and regulations are. Did you want to say anything to that?
No, it's just something that I've noticed in a couple things on the local news of late. The way they present it, it almost has if you don't know any better, it almost comes across that this is the nursing homes trying to keep people out because we're trying to hide something. So just continuing that, perpetual challenge we have of vilifying the nursing home. And I was watching one the other day, and it was, about a 2-minute clip on it, all coming from the perspective of the nursing home won't do this or can't do that or won't, and then at the very end, they made a very, short comment about, a regulation, but you would have missed it if you weren't looking for it. And I think that makes it really hard. I think the families are not always getting the message that the nursing homes would like the families there just as much as they want to come back. So you're just fighting a message, you're having to refute a message that you shouldn't have to be refuting when you start the conversation with the families. And my heart goes out to the communities that are, having to deal with this every day. It's just,
Yeah.
God love you all, because you're incredible.
Yeah. Shauna, you seem to be nodding your head, not to put you on the spot, but did you anything you wanted to add to that? It seemed to resonate with you.
No, I just think it's yeah, a very great point, and this is a very great subject, and I really appreciate everyone's feedback. This is a lot to take in.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting times for sure. Oh, Jackie was just saying she's coordinating some visits. That's why she stepped away. Welcome back, Jackie.
Yeah, so I'm coordinating all the visits for our memory care staff and our memory care families, and we're allowing our, as they say, our SOP is, thank you, I'll look for it. Our SOP says 1 visitor twice a week. And so we have some families that are coming in from out of town and they're leaving and, they're doing some things. And I just let them know, you know what, if you want to come back and visit again, I'm not going to stop you. You might not see your mom again or your dad again for a while. I'll schedule a visit because I'm in charge of that. So, when you have the SOPs, like where do you try to get some flexibility to give families and the elders that we care for really what they need, which is that emotional connection. And I also tell people, especially like today I have a visitation, which I just had to go get. It's their 67th wedding anniversary. Who has the heart to tell somebody on their 67th wedding anniversary, don't hug your wife? No, you hug, you hold hands, you do what you need to do to just feel each other and to have that connection, because I'm not going to take that away from anybody. So we are encouraging that. Yeah, they have to wear PPE, and we're being very careful, but I'm not going to take that away from anybody, because that's what they need they need that more than they need anything else, just like the families need that from their loved one. So, and if somebody told me not to hug my mom after not seeing them for 3 months and then left the room, I'm going to hug. So, I mean, why are we stopping people from doing that? I mean, I get the whole COVID thing, but when it comes to somebody's well-being, there's no way I could do that. So, and Tim is on board, Tim who's I want to say my supervisor, but my partner in crime, and Joan and Kim know that. He and I are the same thing of like, just give all the love you can give, because time is short.
Now, is that something that you would care plan for? Just curious.
I have not care planned for it, simply because I feel like, that's just a basic human need, and it's not a supplement, it's not an intervention, it's not a diagnosis that we need to cure. It's just a basic, simple human need for that connection. So we've not care planned it. And I don't know, I feel like care planning it might, to me, feel almost like we're telling people, you can hug now, but that's the only time you can touch each other. It almost feels too clinical to me. So, so we have not care planned, because we want it to be emotional. We want it to be spontaneous. We want it to be sincere. We want it to be honest, and we want families and the elder that we care for to be the ones who guide that, not us.
Yep. Just curious. Thank you, Jackie.
You're welcome.
Jack has it. Thank you, Jack. I was going to share the screen, but you have it as your screensaver. Jenny shared a couple pictures with us. What do we got, Jenny?
This was my favorite part of the whole week. So during a window visit, I overheard Jim telling Carolyn that tomorrow was their anniversary. And so I was promptly sent out to buy a greeting card. And about halfway there, I realized that was crap, because who wants a stupid card? So on a whim, I drove to the Goodwill and I found the most beautiful dress that matched her blue eyes and a veil. And I brought it home, and the next day, all of her care partners gathered together and they got her all gussied up. Oh my gosh, they were running room to room finding eyebrow pencils and borrowing pantyhose and everything. And so we got her all just perfectly decked out, and I took her out on the porch and did some like just bridal portraits, I guess, of her getting ready. Oh, yeah, there we are. There's so many of them, you guys. I must have taken 300. And I conned Jim into sending me their original wedding photo, which I photographed her with as well. And so anyways, that was my gift to them for their anniversary. And I just, if you can't tell, like, I'm so proud, and it felt so good to be able to do that for them. So that's what I got.
Thank you. That was uplifting, huh? Thanks, Jenny. I think we needed that.
And there's one. Hold on. There's one little bit to the story, because those of you who know me know I don't really like to follow the rules. So there might have been a little bit of rule bending that I cannot discuss publicly after that all happened.
Our lips are sealed. We don't even know. We can't testify against you. Don't worry. We're good.
So Jenny, you just made, I have a visitor in my office from our sister facility. You just made her cry over her lunch with that photo. That it was so beautiful. It just made her want to cry. So, well done.
Well done, Jenny.
Well, thank you. I posted a ridiculously long link earlier, but there's a dozen more photos on my Facebook page. So like it, share it. I just think it's so cool. And Jim and Carolyn are the best. So happy anniversary to them.
Happy anniversary. Thank you. We have some more chats in the chat box about visits. Anybody want to pop up about that? Michelle, did you want to say something?
I can share. She's not on the call, but you all know our friend Mary Kim Smith. And I don't know if you saw on her Facebook page, but she had a hugging booth. And it's plexiglass, this like really tall thing, structure her husband Clayton built. And they have, I can't see it really clearly, but it appeared to be almost like umbrella bags. But I think it is a rural farm cow thing. I don't know what these bags are, but they put them on their arms so they could reach through the holes, and they were hugging each other. And then like one lady had braids, and the elder was feeling her daughter's braids in her hair and saying like, how long did it take you to do this? Because I mean, she had gotten her hair done with really long, beautiful braids. And she was like, I've never felt anything like this. So just the thinness of the plastic allowed for the texture. She could feel that. And like they were petting each other's faces. And it was just a beautiful thing. So I keep telling her, like, when is the hugging booth come back? I want to drive through and get hugs myself. But yeah, I just thought it was so beautiful, just the idea of the importance of touch. Because we've done, like sidewalk visits and on either side of a wrought iron fence, like this little table and that little table, and you're all eating together technically, but stay apart. But the hugging booth, you could tell just the tenderness of the touch was beautiful. And I just thought that was the coolest thing. So Facebook friends with Mary Kim, stroll back to around Mother's Day, I think. and look and see. It was just really cool to think of how as simple as a plastic bag like that would make all the difference in the world.
Yeah. I love that sensory option as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, how huge. Thank you, Michelle. Neil Ann. Hi.
Hi. There are a number of residents here who do not have family, but they have friends. Are they excluded from coming? Is there a way to be sure that residents, they may have family, but they never come, but they have friends who would? Do we know?
Yeah, it looks like Meredith is shaking her head. Yes, yes.
I believe that's okay. The regulation from my perspective doesn't say family by blood. It says visitor. At least that's how we've interpreted it. So a visitor.
Good. Glad to hear it.
Neil Ann, that's a great point. Sometimes your blood family is not, sometimes it is. Those are the closest people in your life, right? And that's a beautiful thing. Unfortunately, that's not the case for everybody. So I'm so glad you brought that up. That is really something that if it's not being addressed, needs to be addressed. So yeah, that's great. Thank you. And Denise probably said those are probably vet gloves that go all the way up your arm is what we were talking about. Probably vet. We don't really want to know what else they might be used for, but yeah, probably vet gloves. A lot of talk about rules. Jenny, you're awesome. Jenny, you rock. So sweet, beautiful. Yep. And then Star, you just said something that just happened. Did it recently happen?
Yes, just this week, we received the okay for our no contact visits. I wish it was like Meredith and people could actually come in the building, but I'm not gonna complain because we've been asking for this from the beginning. And we kept being told, no, we can't do that. It's too much risk. And finally, the county health officer sent me an email late Tuesday evening that our no contact visit policy had been accepted and she thought it was a very safe plan. I can't see how she wouldn't see that. It's very safe. Our sliding glass doors are locked. We are still in the process of trying to get some speaker phones, but in the meantime, our people are using their cell phones on speakers so that people can actually hear and communicate verbally, you know, because there's glass in the way. So that really hampers hearing through the glass. So we have notified everyone that we have this approval, and I actually talked to one of the ladies of an elder who has been begging for visits, and I'd had some long conversation with her when she was in the business office, and she was very, very excited that we now have this approval. So we're moving forward. It's lots of work because visits have to be scheduled, and it just is, you know, a whole nother layer. But thanks to Diana, our activities person, we are moving that forward, and it couldn't have come at a better time. Father's Day is Sunday, and we're just really excited that we've been able to at least win this small little privilege for everyone. So we're actually starting today.
Thank you, Star. Thank you. Jenny put in there, Eversound is offering a special visitation package. It might be just what you need, Star. We'll wait till she comes back. So it looks like she's got a phone call. So anybody else? And Jackie, yep, Jackie says that package is great. I don't know what that is, but we'll hear about it in a minute. Does anybody who hasn't kind of had room to talk, is there anything you'd like to bring up? I want to make sure everybody has a chance to pipe in if they'd like to. Yeah, Shauna.
So one thing we really want to keep is that has been a positive through this whole COVID is connecting the families that live far away, that the elders didn't get to see every day or talk to, and they can actually see their faces. So we were very fortunate to have almost 50 devices donated to us. So iPhones, iPads, that we've been utilizing, and we've hit almost 2,000 video chats done, and it's really nice to see the families calling from different provinces and different states, and to connect those individuals. So I really hope after when we're in our next normal that this continues, because it brings that joy. And yes, it's not the same as in person, but it gives them that one connection that they didn't have before. So
Beautiful.
yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah, I bet many people would agree with that the uptick or whatever of technology has definitely been a plus through this. That would be something you definitely want to carry through, because it has gotten stronger through it. Thank you, Shauna. That was great. Anybody else? Jenny says definitely a keep. Yeah, Kim.
This isn't something to keep, but it's something I've been thinking about a lot that I just want to share with you all about this whole visit thing. I just keep trying to imagine what I would do now if my mom was living in memory care. Like back in the past, if this was happening, I wouldn't be able to stand it. I wouldn't be able to stand it. I would probably want to move her home, because she would not understand what was going on, and she would not understand why I wasn't there, and nobody would know how to be with her and would know enough about her. I just can't even imagine what our friends who are living with dementia are going through, and it's really killing me thinking about it. Sorry, I didn't mean to take us away from happy things. I just wanted to say that to y'all. It's been killing me thinking about it. It makes me cry every time I think.
With my sister, who's in that situation, I use the Echo Show with his drop-in feature. And I have a friend here whose sister also is in memory care, and she uses the drop-in. Now, in her case, her sister is much farther along, and so she doesn't quite understand what's happening, but there's this little television-like device, and she understands television, and her sister appears on it periodically without her understanding why, but also without requiring staff intervention, and they have regular visits. And of course, that can work across the country. When my mother was in assisted, well, she was in a nursing center, we didn't have that. We had something called a SIVA. I was able to send her pictures through the early internet that would appear in her room. And I remember once visiting, I was in California, she was in New Jersey, so we couldn't visit, but we could share things on a daily basis. And I remember visiting her, and she would go point at that picture, and she said, I know her. And so the stimulation was enormous. Unfortunately, many providers are afraid of liability if they deploy the Echo Show. They're afraid that family might hear staff say something that could be inappropriate, or that might get them in trouble. So some providers will not allow that, but to address the human challenge that you've raised, that Echo Show for us has worked tremendously well. It solves the problem.
Thank you, Jack. Thank you. Jane, I think you were going to say something as well. Did you have a comment, Jane?
I just wanted to agree with Kim. My mom passed away, but she had Lewy bodies dementia, and I was pretty much her lifeline for everything. And I probably would have had to take her home, would have wanted to take her home, because both of us wouldn't have been able to survive this time away. So I totally agree with you.
Yeah, and that you know, to me, again, that really speaks to just hearing that it's like both of you wouldn't be able to survive this. That is a true care partnership that we talk about. So I'll go Jackie, then Evie. Jackie?
So, Kim, you know, you and I are like, so my worry with these visits that we started this week was that people wouldn't recognize, and you know, we really tout that feelings matter most. I have not had one case of non-recognition between the member on memory care and their family member coming in. I've had tears of recognition. And that really goes to show that they might not remember your name, but they're going to remember that they love you and that you're important. And of course, we've built that up with window visits, and we've used WhatsApp and all the other things that we could use to keep people communicating and seeing each other. But I'll tell you what, there has not been one moment that I've not cried when people have not seen each other for the first time. There have been some absolutely beautiful moments. And I also think us living here, keeping those relationships going, really fostered what made the visitation so successful, because we didn't give them the opportunity to forget each other. So it really is all about that. Like I said, I just, not one moment, and we have seen some amazing coming togethers now, and it's just been really, for me, I go home at night and that's what makes me feel good. So
Yeah, take that with you. Absolutely. Thank you, Jackie. Evie?
Well, what I'm going to say might be controversial. So elders living with dementia are living in present time. They're in the moment, and you know, your family could be there, and they were there an hour ago, and you don't know that they've been there, or they never come to see me. The recognition often is a feeling. It's that feeling of love when there is a good relationship, and that's the issue. But I also know from family members who are in nursing homes right now, they're not struggling. The families are struggling more than the elder, because there's so much love from them for the staff that they don't know that the family hasn't visited. But when I hope I'm making sense. Again, it's that feeling, and anybody can give them that sense of security, that sense of love, that sense of connection. But the family members, this just exacerbates their guilt exponentially.
Yeah. Any thoughts on that? That's yep. Yeah, Kim.
Not every place is filled with people like you all.
I was kind of thinking that too.
So,
yeah, unfortunately.
Y'all are magical, special, amazing people, but not every place is filled with Eden people. So you're right, but you know, that's just something we have to remember. Not everybody's like us Eden folks, right?
Not yet. Not yet.
Right.
Not yet.
Right.
All right. Wow. Wonderful, wonderful conversation today. And we have about 6 minutes left, and I just want to do, I want to relaunch that poll again, if that's okay, because we had about 12 people, now we have about 22. So I just want to launch it again just to make sure. So let me just share this. And again, this is, you know, next week is our last call that we have scheduled. And we want to see, is this time valuable for you? And after the poll, well, I got another question for you. So let's just see if this, I'm going to try to relaunch it and see if it works. Did it come up? Yay, okay. So just do this again for me. I know if you did it before, it's like, oh, here we go again. Round and round the mulberry bush. Okay. Great. All right, thank you. I'm going to go ahead and end polling, and it looks like we're about the same place that we decided we want to keep going. So, okay, great. Something I would like you to think about, and I know we have 2 more comments, so I'm going to ask you to think about this and maybe get back to Denise or I, whoever's going to be facilitating the call, but we're always together. We're kind of like this team. So if you could just let us know, like, what would make these gatherings more valuable for you moving forward? So since we're going to move forward and continue, like, would we want to meet less often? I'm hearing right now what we'll do for July is set up weekly again, but that may be a comment that, you know, as we move forward, we might want to think about. Do we want to have predetermined topics? Do we want to have more peer-to-peer sharing? Is it more action-oriented conversations, like, or is it going well? Or, you know, if you have any feedback on that, because this is our discussions. So I want to make sure we're doing that. And then I have 2 more comments. One from, oh, well, let's just do this real quick. Kim McCrae would like to, oh, you're not there anymore. She wanted to know who your masked neighbor was, Star. Oh, there you are. Kim wanted to know who your masked neighbor is behind you, and you're on mute. Could you introduce?
Yes, this is Diana.
Oh, hi.
And she's from our activities department, and she is the leader of activities. So she loves to get over here whenever she can, and I'm always happy to have her join me. So yeah,
great.
That's who the masked person is.
Oh, right.
Yeah, there was a comment in the chat box.
Up and
You
down.
wanted to know who you were. And then Joan, do you just want to make a little comment here? And then Michelle, I'm going to have you wrap us up.
Well, I just wanted to send out an invitation, and it's good Michelle's following me because she's actually on our task force, our committee that's working on this. If you did not see it this week, Pioneer Network, like Eden and so many others, had to cancel our live event, but we are venturing into new territory, uncharted and a bit scary, and we are going to be doing a virtual gathering, and it's going to be September 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. Our Eden family, we've been talking and meeting with them, and they are going to be there helping us host and working this through. And as I said, Michelle's on our committee. We're going to have a series of panel discussions on our theme is envisioning the future. We're trying to figure out everything we can to see how to make it as interactive as possible and engaging. So September 1st, 2nd, 3rd, put it on your calendar, and hopefully by the 2nd week of July, we hope to have out the whole program and registration and all the details, but it's going to be exciting. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Joan. And so we have 1 minute left, and Michelle, would you like to wrap us up on this beautiful Friday?
Sure, absolutely. Thank you. You guys, it's always so wonderful to see all of you. I did want to challenge us, though, as the educators, as the people who so dearly believe in Eden and what it means and what these principles mean. Our next normal, there is so much autonomy and so much empowerment in that. And deciding where we go from here, I say, like, let's just not accept what was. And if it was a 7, make it a 10. You know, like if it was a 3, make it a 7. You know, but I just want to challenge us, especially those of us who are support team members, to make this next normal one that empowers all, that values all. This past week we were talking about revamping our greenhouse training, and how do we let an employee know from day one they are of value? They're not thrown into all this training and all this, here's the 10 principles, welcome, blah, 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 get to work. That happens, and we need to stop and pause and value from day one our team, value from day one elders, and value the family members. And down to dining. And we have found, and there's so many statistics I could show you, but I can't, but our greenhouses have done so well because of the household model. Even if there was COVID positive, they were still having convivium. I love that word. They were still having convivium, guys. And we have people in traditional settings who are not having convivium. There is something wrong. And I'm not trying to point fingers. I'm saying this is a confession that we realize we've got to do better, even in our traditional settings, for persons to have convivium, for persons to have a sense of value, understand their voices being heard, and that we honor that from day one. And that's got to be the next normal. And so I just challenge all of you to say, what was it that was glitchy? What was it that was undesirable? What was it just wasn't as smooth as it needed to be? And have conversations now about how to redo that, how to pivot at this point. So I just want to challenge everybody on what your next normal looks like. It needs to be unique to you and your team and the elders you're blessed to serve. But I just wanted to share that with you because we've had a lot of conversations this week. I drove up to Tupelo and we were talking about what is it going to look like. And I think valuing human beings from day one, regardless of role, anything, just you are part of our family and we're bringing you in because we cherish you, whether it's elder, family member, team member, whomever, you are part of this family. This is who we are. This is how we love. Welcome and start from there.
Excellent. Excellent. There we go. Call to action, people. Love it. All right. Well, we'll see you all next Friday. Denise will probably send out a new link for you. Next Friday, you already have the link. Sorry about that, but we'll send out stuff for July. Thank you all so much for being here. Continue on and let us know your thoughts about upcoming calls. All right. Have a great day. Have a great weekend. And see you soon.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.